Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to join you all today. I get to speak to some of you twice, since I get to chat with some of you this morning, for those of you the New Northwest Coalition, which is very, very exciting. And thank you again to the panelists that just chatted or just shared their really amazing knowledge with us this morning or this afternoon. We're solidly in afternoon, I feel like now, even for those of you that might be joining us on the West Coast virtually. And we're really pleased not only to be here at Micron, one of our founding partners at the STEM Opportunity Alliance, but really to join all of you. And I just want to echo kind of Fran's wonderful introduction to us earlier today around talking about how this is an opportunity for us to learn together, to talk together, both think independently, but also bring that learning together to bear. And that's a large part of what we're going to be doing today. I have the privilege of leading our external DEI-focused initiatives at AAAS, and that includes the STEM Opportunity Alliance. But I have a really incredible team of almost 30 individuals that help make all of that work reality, many of whom are here today. And I want to take a brief moment to thank them for all of their work, not only in collaborating with our incredible Micron colleagues to make today possible, but really this slate of nationwide meetings that we've been hosting across the country. So we launched the STEM Opportunity Alliance in December of last year with the White House. We co-hosted a summit, the first ever White House Summit on STEM equity and excellence. And at that summit, we announced this alliance. But we'd actually been working behind the scenes for over a year and a half to make this come to fruition. And part of what we wanted to make really, really clear was that while we were announcing this really exciting partnership, at the time we had 93 partners. I'm very happy to share that as of today, we're over 115 partners. We started off with $1.2 billion worth of dedicated funding. Today, we're at over $1.6 billion of dedicated funding towards achieving equity in STEM. All of that work comes down to this year, though, where we said we're not going to announce at that convening a 5-step plan for how we're going to scale equity in STEM. We, in fact, thought we need to spend a considerable amount of time working across the country, building a national strategy for equity in STEM, for equity and excellence in STEM. And we have to do that with key constituents across the country. This meeting today is one of several, in fact, 11 meetings that we've been having across the country. And we're committed to doing our work in this way. We're committed to co-constructing a national plan. And it will, by the way, be the country's first national plan. We've never had a national plan for STEM equity and excellence in our history. And so it is vitally important that we pick your brains and that we get you engaged. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in a moment about kind of how you're going to be able to do that with us. But I also want to take a moment to pay homage to the lands on which we're gathering today. So as the son of the very proud son of a half Choctaw, quarter Cherokee father, it gives me great pleasure to also give a quick land acknowledgement around where we are gathering today. And I hope that I do the tribal territory names justice here. So today, where we're gathering to do this work physically, and for those of you that might be joining us virtually, as you know, we're at Micron's headquarters in Boise, Idaho, but we're gathering on the territories of the Shoshone, Bannock, and Cayuse tribes. And I want to take a quick moment. If you're not familiar with a land acknowledgement, it's a tribal tradition where we honor the work and the rich cultural heritage of the lands where we might be gathering, and where many of us may continue to do our work and live and continue to thrive today. So I want to pay homage to that as we go into this continued work. Before we roll up our sleeves, I also want to give you a quick overview of what the STEM Opportunity Alliance is. I don't expect that you have read our website fully, but this is a great time for me to tell you, www.stemopportunity.org. And whether you put one M or two M's, you'll get to the same place. Excellent job to our IT department. And really, the core foundation of SOA, what we're seeking to accomplish, and how we see this work as helping support and advance equity goals and initiatives. Many people within organizations like yours are advancing important work to promote equity in STEM, that are having really great impact. And so part of our work today aims to identify what is working and those efforts and to discuss how to effectively scale those efforts. But importantly, we don't want to just leverage what is working or programmatic initiatives. We also want to think about what are the environments in which those initiatives are working well, and what will be the systemic change needed to affect a national level of scale and impact that can break down even the most stubborn barriers across institutions and sectors. In fact, many of those barriers that we ourselves, by erecting a system that has silos, have put in place. How do we deconstruct those and refocus our energy in that way? And that work relies on invaluable insights from all of you in this room. That's why the STEM Opportunity Alliance is the first ever effort, in fact, to bring together all of the partners from across the STEM ecosystems. So we have today in the room and in our alliance, partners from industry and workforce, partners from higher education, K-12 leaders, informal education as well as formal education, and community members. But also key to this work and key to our partners are our philanthropy partners and government, and more, to coordinate and align these efforts to advance the equity. It is the result of, as I mentioned, almost 2 years of work and the coordination of the White House, the Doris Duke Foundation, and all of those partners that we have listed again on our website, www.stemequity. Nope. See, did you catch it? Yeah. STEM Opportunity. Shows who was actually taking notes. STEMopportunity.com, 1M or 2, right? So our collective job today as SOA is to make sure that those efforts can amount to being more than the sum of their parts. And that is key to what we are seeking to do with SOA. So as we start to think about what the primary objectives of the Alliance are in trying to build out a system, a STEM ecosystem that is rooted in equity, inclusion, scientific excellence, and accessibility to power progress, innovate prosperity, we think about that as a generational approach. So we've talked about achieving an equitable and excellent STEM ecosystem by 2050. And part of the work that we have really undertaken is thinking about what are the steps that we must take in a very long-term strategic view that we can then reverse engineer so that we can understand what are the fierce urgencies of today, what are we required to do today, tomorrow, this year, next year, to reach a truly equitable STEM ecosystem by 2050. So we are very purposely taking this long-term and urgent view when we're talking about the Alliance, and in particular about the strategic plan that we're pulling together. Our approach within SOA is to build this effort so that we can ensure, as you've heard a couple panelists already talk about, that children, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability status, or geographic location, will view STEM as their birthright. Our CEO at AAAS, Siddharth Parikh, oftentimes talks about this. He talks about envisioning a world where a child who is born no matter where they are born and no matter what family they are born into, that they actually never think about all the work that myself or Shirley Malcolm, or maybe many of you are doing around STEM equity, that they just think that it is their birthright to be a part of STEM and never question that they don't have a contribution to give and that they can't move into STEM talent development pathways. That is the ultimate goal of a system that is really removing barriers and providing opportunities for all persons. And that vision is central to a person like myself as well, a person who identifies as biracial, as I mentioned earlier at the top with my land-grant acknowledgement, and who oftentimes spent my whole career feeling like I wasn't represented in STEM or wasn't represented in science. And in fact, many people talk about the missing millions in STEM. This is actually a phrase that the new NSF director, Panch, has kind of used and oriented. And I really love this framing of those in STEM thinking about who are missing within the STEM ecosystem. Who do we not have leveraging their talents and their vision and their passion and their genius to the endeavor? I also say, are we missing? Are we missing or are we overlooked? And I think there's a really key distinction there. So yes, those are two sides of almost really the same coin. One is from an insider perspective of those in STEM looking to say, who's not here? And how can we help those individuals do something, right? And the other is actually looking from the other side to say, like, who hasn't been served well? Who's not underrepresented? Who's underserved? Who's not missing, but who's overlooked in our STEM pathways? And we want to do both of those things. This is not an either or, I would argue, but in fact, an opportunity for us to rethink the way that we envision STEM ecosystems and opportunities for individuals to access and thrive along STEM pathways. And how do we reconceptualize the organizations and entities that are involved in the STEM enterprise so that they have equitable and accessible practices, policies, structures. So why is equity important in STEM? I don't feel like I have to expound this argument too far for you, but because I think many of you are passionate about that. I hope that's why you're here. But I do think it's important that we're actually taking a multi-pronged approach in this work. So equity in STEM, one, is inextricably linked to the excellence in STEM. And that is one of the key starting points for SOA. We are doing this work because at the end of the day, we know through a vast body of research that more inclusive and diverse teams do better science. They innovate at higher rates, they create better problem solving, they create better solutions to the problems that we have. And for those of you, especially in industry, I think industry is a space where we've been doing this better than most other sectors. Product inclusion, the idea that product inclusion is even a term and used in industry, we never talk about product inclusion in higher ed or in K-12, right? But in fact, that is a large part of the equity puzzle. The other part, of course, is that it's critical for our US economic growth, our competitive advantage, and it is one of the few areas that the US has, really kind of a market advantage compared to most other countries in the world. And if we treat equity and inclusion and diversity as a competitive advantage, it helps us have a glimpse into the system in rethinking whether or not that system is adequately doing what we would like it to do, right? Or to say, in fact, it is not serving us in maintaining a competitive advantage, and therefore we must shift and evolve that system. And then, of course, we also argue that it's necessary for building a just and equitable society and a better society for us all to live in. So we argue that the time is now, in fact, that the last several years have actually laid bare, like never before, the systemic inequities that continue to plague our country. And with the federal government's historic investment in STEM and equity and a renewed focus on STEM equity, we are well positioned to tackle the systemic equity gaps across the STEM ecosystem. That's why we work closely with the White House to launch the SOA at our first National Summit on STEM Equity and Excellence in December of last year, and why we have drafted a framework for the national plan based off of learnings from multiple White House listening sessions. Now, before we can coordinate and align our efforts, before we can expect to achieve at scale more than any one of us could on our own, we need a shared plan. A plan for achieving those shared goals and workforce equity by 2050. A plan for what needs to happen in each part of our ecosystem from cross-sector partners to make that future a reality. A plan for holding us all accountable to change and progress, and a plan for how we will structure and guide that work collectively over the next several decades. And we hope that the STEM Opportunity Alliance can help provide the infrastructure for doing that very thing. So throughout this year, we have been striving to co-construct a national strategy, expand our alliance, deepen the engagement of our partners, and grow the market share of investments in STEM under SOA's umbrella, and expand awareness of our work. This is all part of the second phase of 4 phases of our plan. We'll outline the third and fourth phases of our efforts after our upcoming breakout kind of workshop sessions, but later in the meeting. But now is the time, in fact, for us to engage in the work of the day. So today, we're hoping that you will help really help inform this national strategy, this national strategic plan. And we're hoping that you'll help us structure that plan. So the breakouts that we will be moving into in the next phase of our time together will really be focused on that co-construction. This is the time for us to work together, to learn together, to think and bring our unique perspectives together. Now, I mentioned that our team has already structured a framework. In fact, we sent that to you ahead of time. If you don't have it, don't worry, we have hard copies available for you in your breakout sessions. But what we're hoping is that you will, in fact, tear that framework apart, intellectually, not physically. In these breakout groups, which we're going to be heading into, it is our sincere hope that you actually dive into a section of the framework, a section that you have either passion or expertise, maybe both, and really help us refine and iterate that framework. It's the work of saying, is this goal far enough? Is it too timid? Is it actually ambitious enough? Does this scare us? Does this goal actually scare us, but we think it's what's needed for us to continue forward? Those are the goals we're hoping to set. And then what are the strategies that we need to actually achieve those goals? So in our breakout groups, we'll be asking you, we're gonna be doing some pairing, some sharing, some dyads, some triads, all sorts of fun, facilitator groups. It's all gonna be very analog. There's gonna be Post-its, there's gonna be markers and pens, but this is really the space for us to actually dive into, roll up our sleeves and dive into the framework and think about how do we actually achieve a more equitable STEM ecosystem? How do we actually make real this vision for an ecosystem that has cross-sector partners and that really can advance change and fully providing us the workforce of tomorrow, of today, that we desperately need. So when you registered for the event, you selected a topic that you wanted to discuss here today. There were 3 topics available. You can find your breakout group on your name badge. I believe it's on the back of your name badge. I believe you have a number. And those numbers you will have guides in a moment helping you get to your breakout space. These breakouts are really critical in helping us achieve this prerequisite strategy, constructing these shared goals, aligning a plan of course of action, and because we can't all work together for the benefit from each other's efforts if we don't have a shared goal and purpose. And so those 3 breakout groups, just to remind you of them, there's workforce and industry, which I believe is number 1. Is that correct? Thank you. There's STEM, R&D, and workforce. STEM, R&D, 2. Okay, good. Process of elimination here. And then learning experiences and education preparation and diversification, number 3. So, what? 2 and 3 are swapped. It's going to be on a slide probably, or something. I'm going to keep going with my remarks so my team doesn't get more mad at me for going off script. If you don't have a breakout group, what I can tell you, if there's not a breakout group on your badge, you can select whichever group you would prefer, and we won't be checking your badges. So really, if you did pick a breakout group and have decided you were gonna wanna switch, that's also totally fine and in fact encouraged. While we have that shared framework for the strategy, while we shared that framework, as I said, we will have copies in the breakout rooms for you. And then after your break, just to let you know, there will be Micron staff in the hallways directing everyone to the rooms for each group. So please follow their instructions or feel free to ask them if you need help. Before we head to those breakout groups, I'm going to invite my friend and colleague, Fran Dillard, up to kind of give us final instructions. But I want to take one last opportunity to say how grateful we are, not only that you are here, not only that you are thinking with us about how we achieve equity in STEM, but also that you are, I hope by being here, open to joining us on this journey towards achieving a more equitable and excellent STEM ecosystem. Joining the SOA requires no financial contribution, and entities can join even now. Being able to join, or the process for joining is very simple. There's an online form at our website, www.stem.org. Y'all are amazing. One M or 2, yes. So on our website, there is an open form. You can also reach out to any member of our team and we can help you with that process. But we are looking for the organizations and the leaders that want to make this vision a reality. And so if your organization is already doing work in this, we want you to join. If you're interested in doing work in this, we want you to join. If you think you want to do this work better, we're here to help you. And so we will continue to do that work and to be a network weaver in the community. We're about to head to breakouts.
Thank you, Travis. That was amazing. And I would just say to everyone, I don't know if your brain is on fire like mine is. My brain is on fire. It was so much good content, great conversations. I was supposed to talk about my key takeaways, but we're not going to have time. We're going to move this forward. But I will say, Andrew opened up today with a quote from Margaret Mead, and I made a few little alterations to that one. When he said that, when she said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed education leaders, industry leaders, government, STEM, and diversity advocates can change the world. I think that was my biggest takeaway today when I heard from the speaker, so thank you. So we're gonna move forward. It's time for the breakout sessions. So I want you to kind of listen to me carefully as I walk through this. I wanna make sure we have clarity, so when I call out the breakout session rooms, I'm just gonna ask whoever's holding those signs up to clarify what is the name or title of that breakout session, okay? All right, so we're gonna do this in non-traditional order. If I could get our volunteer to hold up number 3, everyone with a number 3 on their badge. Okay, and what is the name of that session? Equity and excellence in STEM, R&D, higher education. Okay, number 3, please go there. All right, thank you. And they will slowly walk you out and show you the way. Number 3, equity and education. I can't remember it again. All right. Anybody with number 3 that was going with that particular group? All right. Now we're gonna, if you have, we're gonna jump to number 1. So where's my number 1, folks? Okay, hey, number 1. All right, those that have a number 1 on the back of their name badge, please follow the folks at the door over here waving. And what is the name of that session?
Equity and excellence in industry and workforce.
Industry. Okay, great. All right, please, all number 1s, please follow the blue cards, number 1. All right, and finally, number 2, everyone in our number 2 breakout session. Where's number 2? All right. So, number 2, please follow the ladies at the door here. They will take you to the breakout session. We will have volunteers along the way to help you find your location, but please enjoy the sessions, and we'll see you in 2 hours. Thank you.